It's pretty warm.
The Andante Air from the Water music.
The Untitled Chapter water music.
Very close for me. Air from the Water music.
Yeah, this should be next to it,
With all the
yeah. Yeah.
We could do the bar fair as well. Maybe Queen of Sheep.
This is a bit of an odd arrangement because one of mine's lost, so I don't know what it's for.
What?
This is not my usual arrangement, this one,
Oh, right.
because I went to get it and it was lost.
This would do.
It should be fine, I don't know.
She's not
Oh,
really,
she's
she's not
saying,
really,
okay.
we need to get this ready.
All right, okay. That's fine.
So number 18, and then we have to, Rachel, we have to stop whenever you're on stage. So
Okay, yeah. No, wait.
The procession is on its way, but before that, I have a few obligatory requests and notices to give out. Please ensure all mobile phones are on silent, switch to flight mode, or are off. Photographs will be taken throughout the ceremony, and if there is anybody who does not consent to their photo being taken and used for publicity purposes, please let one of the marshals know. In the extremely unlikely event that we need to exit the building in a hurry, please remain calm and seated. Marshals will assist you in exiting the building. For staff on stage, we have a fire exit to the left of the altar through the vestry. For people to my right, please exit through the rear tower door. For people to my left, please exit through the main entrance through which you came. Please sit and wait to be directed by our marshals. When the ceremony has finished, the Chancellor's procession will leave the church and you will be asked to stand. The procession will be followed by the graduates and finally our VIPs. Our remaining guests will then be dismissed. Finally, to our graduands, may I be the first to congratulate you on your achievement. When your name is called, please step up onto stage. If you are happy to shake the Chancellor's hand, please continue to centre stage when your name is called. If you would prefer not to shake the Chancellor's hand, please bow your head upon stepping onto the stage before continuing. You may come to the centre stage after you've bowed. Please look to the camera to my left for your official photos with the Chancellor. When you leave the stage, please return to your seat via the centre of the nave. Thank you. Please enjoy the ceremony and the rest of your day. Can I now ask you please stand for the procession?
Please be seated.
Honorary Graduand,
Graduands, guests, friends, I welcome you on behalf of the university to this ceremony for the conferment of degrees. Today is a very special occasion for our graduands. Attaining your degree from the University of Buckingham is a real achievement and something of which to be very proud. You've enjoyed the benefits of a very high standard of teaching from dedicated staff, and I know you will have studied hard to achieve your goals. Despite the difficulties that have been caused by COVID, I hope you've managed to take every opportunity you could to be part of our diverse and multicultural student body, which will have introduced you to people, experiences, traditions, and cultures from across the world. In something under an hour's time, you will cease to be graduands and become graduates, the latest in a long line of distinguished graduates from the University of Buckingham. And I know you will continue to be successful. As you look back on your time here and remember the support and encouragement you achieved, we hope you will act as an ambassador for your university and continue to enhance our outstanding reputation. I congratulate each and every one of you and wish you every good fortune in your chosen careers and your future lives.
Chancellor, Chair of Council, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Registrar, distinguished colleagues, graduands, family and friends, welcome to this graduation ceremony of the University of Buckingham. It fills me with real pride and real joy to see so many of you gathered here today. This is our first graduation in person for 2.5 years. What a time it's been, hasn't it, these last 1-2 years. I joined the university as Vice-Chancellor a year ago. And you can imagine how horrible it was for me not to be able to meet with students, not to be able to meet with faculty, not to be able to meet with anybody throughout all this time. And it just fills my heart with joy to see you here on this very special occasion. I would like to thank Dame Mary Archer for coming all this way to share with you this really momentous occasion. She was installed as Chancellor on the 24th of February 2020, just before lockdown. We were due a graduation speech then, and we would do a graduation speech from Dame Mary, and of course we postponed it, and here we are back again. The warmest of congratulations to all of you as well, the graduands, your families and friends. Whatever discipline you're graduating in, I know there will have been times when inspiration eluded you, when you'd not been sure what you were doing and why. And in these unusual times, these strange, sometimes unbearable times, I know it has been so hard for you. And I congratulate you even more for getting to this stage, even through these hardest of times. You've persevered, you've got through, and now you're ready to take stock and move on to face the wider world. It's wonderful being physically together, and the sun is shining, and what better feeling than an autumnal day with the sun shining, the leaves changing colour, I'm looking forward to, after this service, you'll process down to the marquee on the Balliff lawn, and I'm looking forward to meeting as many of you as I can on that occasion. I'm glad you chose the University of Buckingham. I call it our unique boutique university. I'm so proud of it, and I hope that as you go into the world, you will look back with pride too. You all know, I'm sure, because you've been on the campus for so long, but the University of Buckingham is in the loop of the River Great Ouse. It's the site of the original 7th century Saxon settlement, surrounded on 3 sides by water, great protection. The 4th side, this hill. And on this hill in Saxon times where we're standing now, there was the Saxon fort, which later became the Norman castle, which is why, if anyone was confused when you walked up the street from Buckingham, you saw it was called Castle Street. This was the old castle, and then the church where we are now today was built in the late 18th century. The University of Buckingham, as you know, traces our founding back to 1969, founded on a vision of university independence. And this encompasses our belief in academic freedom and free speech, and our belief in the vitality and relevance of the great academic traditions, with a determination through you to pass these on to future generations, to develop and enrich. And independence was actually the theme of our very first matriculation speech, given from this very spot by Margaret Thatcher, who was then leader of the opposition in the UK Parliament. And she told the audience gathered here, in the very place where you're sitting, she said, "Independence, we must remember, is not a gift. It is not something that government confers, but something that a free people enjoys and uses." And her words, I believe, resonate even more today, I believe. You've been through important times here, and now many important times will follow. Sometimes you will, most likely, make mistakes. Sometimes you will feel you're failing. But Winston Churchill, who knew about failure more than most very successful human beings, said, "Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm." This is a momentous day for you. And I have this habit. I don't know whether you'll appreciate it, but on momentous days, I like to look back to momentous days in history and see what was happening on the same day. So October the 25th, your momentous day, 2021, when you graduate. Looking back on October the 25th, on this day, October the 25th, 1854, the Battle of Balaclava took place during the Crimean War. We know it much better as the day made famous for the charge of the Light Brigade. On that day in history, the British Light Cavalry led a charge, now we know by mistake, into the heart of the Russian Imperial Army. Its riders were just had sabers and lances. They died. Most were killed or severely injured. It was a huge strategic defeat for the British and their French and Turkish allies. The charge of the Light Brigade on this very day in 1854. What is the moral there one can bring? On one level, you might think doing acts of bravery in the face of insurmountable or great odds, that's something in a way that the great British liberal tradition of education and the university education in particular, that's something that we could see as a noble aim, being bold, being brave in the face of adversity. So that's something that maybe we can relate to. However, of course, many of you will know, there is the questioning of this position, and the poet laureate Alfred Tennyson wrote his poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade, And he suggested an alternative explanation and an alternative moral of the story. Just the last few lines, the last stanza. Someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. And this brings an alternative idea of what a British liberal education, as personified in what we want to do at the University of Buckingham, is about. The ability to reason why, to make reply, to be able to critically analyze and come up with the right reasons, the right answers, not just think you have to obey authority, but find the answer that's true. So whether it's bravery in the face of adversity or the ability and aptitude to reason why, these are all aspects of the British liberal tradition as espoused at Buckingham that I fervently hope you will be taking away from us today. One other thing happened on this day in history, and I'll finish on this. October the 25th, 1962, John Steinbeck won the Nobel Prize in Literature. So John Steinbeck, the great American author of German, English, and Irish descent, he'd been called a giant of American letters. The novel I most love of his is East of Eden, which Steinbeck himself regarded as his magnum opus. He said, "It has everything in it I've been able to learn about my craft or profession in all these years. Everything else I've written has been, in a sense, practice for this." Steinbeck's inspiration for the novel comes from the 4th chapter of Genesis, and that's where the title comes. And I want to leave you with this quote from East of Eden, which I think summarizes John Steinbeck's position, but it summarizes what I believe about the world of ideas, the world that you've been in for the last couple of years. I quote, "And this I believe, that the free, exploring mind of the individual human is the most valuable thing in the world. And this I would fight for, the freedom of the mind to take any direction it wishes, undirected. And this I must fight against, any idea, religion, or government which limits or destroys the individual. This is what I am and what I am about." This summarizes some of the really important things about Buckingham that I hope you will look back on and that I hope you will carry forward and cherish as you remember your time here. You're still graduands. There's going to be a wonderful ceremony now where you become graduates of the University of Buckingham. I congratulate you all on getting to this stage. I look forward to welcoming you as graduates to the marquee on the Balliff lawn in due course. Thank you.
Chancellor, Professor John Drew, Dean of Academic Affairs, will now present Emeritus Professor John Clark for the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
In 1788, the English historian Edward Gibbon completed his monumental history of the Roman Empire, a work that had taken him a dozen years to complete. He called it, famously, the history of the decline and fall of that remarkable institution. Chancellor, in celebrating the life and work of another English historian, a chronicler who is widely known to have spent rather more than 12 years writing the definitive history of another remarkable institution, which is none other than the University of Buckingham itself. In doing so, I must speculate that this work will have to be titled, antithetically, The History of the Birth and Rise. And moreover, Chancellor, there are few individuals who can fairly be credited with having contributed more to its successful trajectory than the author himself. John Charles Clark, the Charles for his father and grandfather, is a local boy through and through. He grew up in nearby Brackley, where his father was a booking clerk at Brackley's top station. His great-grandfather was village blacksmith at Lillingston Darrell, not 4 miles from where we're gathered. At the height of the swinging 60s, he left Magdalen College School in Brackley for the vanes, spires and domes of Oxford, going up to Wadham College to read history in October 1964, shortly before the general election that brought Harold Wilson to power for the first time, and with Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman at #1 in the hit parade. A first-class degree and an outstanding performance in the civil service exam formed part of what one colleague refers to as an annus mirabilis in 1967, offering the vista of a career as a Whitehall mandarin. But instead, John chose to remain in Oxford as his extraordinary talent was recognized in his being elected there to a 7-year prize fellowship at All Souls. It's hard to imagine anything more impressive, wrote a disappointed candidate for this honour in the Telegraph a few years back, than being a fellow of Oxford's most elite college while still in your early 20s. Quite so, and we must imagine that the young John Clark of Brackley was rightly proud of this achievement. A student whom John tutored in those days recalls, even at this point in his career, his extraordinary historical fluency, his breadth and width of reference, his ability from memory and with complete recall of facts and names to offer a wonderful and memorable historical disquisition. In addition to the tutoring of undergraduates at various Oxford colleges, important books followed. These included The Life and Times of George III in 1972, and his Oxford doctoral thesis the same year, From Business to Politics, The Ellis Family, 1760 to 1860. John Clark's urgent, if not radical, interest in social history in this key period for British industrialisation and international affairs is also taken up in later works, The Price of Progress, Cobbett's England, 1780 to 1835, and British Diplomacy and Foreign Policy, 1782 through 1865. But in addition to these monographs marking history's grand sweep, an impressive series of book projects also bore fruit over the years, bringing to bear the same keen intelligence and sense of the wider narrative on questions of local history across Buckinghamshire and Northamptonshire. By the time the majority of these works had been published, however, a momentous decision had long been taken, one which would overnight switch our subject from following the straightforward path of an Oxford don to the more adventurous but perhaps arduous track of a Buckingham don, something which involved him in forging from the mid-70s onwards a new route, helping build yard by yard a new line for British universities to follow, rather than sitting back in a comfortable chair by the Charwell. A colleague has kindly furnished me with the following account of how this decision came about. On a train from London back to Oxford, the year was 1976, following a night at the theatre, John bumped into Max Beloff, our first principal, who was himself returning to All Souls College, where they both taught. Max started to tell John of his new venture, which was to set up the first independent university in the UK. John was at first rather sceptical and would probably have declined had not the train broken down at Didcot. In the next hour or so, while confined to the same carriage, Max used all his powers of persuasion to cajole John into moving to Buckingham from All Souls to become its first admissions officer and senior lecturer in history. Well, there are two observations we can make about this story. The first is simply to rejoice that what Lord Beeching took away from Buckingham in the 60s in terms of connectivity, Lord Belloff did something to restore in the 70s by bringing to us a remarkable thinker and communicator. The second is more speculative. What song the sirens sang, or what name Achilles assumed when he hid himself among women, though puzzling questions are not beyond all conjecture, Sir Thomas Browne writes in Urn Burial. And in the same vein, we could probably find out what play John Clarke had been to see at the theatre in London that critical night. But what remains beyond all historical conjecture is how much poorer our lives would have been had he not met with Max Belloff and had that train not broken down. For as well as bringing all his academic and intellectual gifts to the university and to the town, John has gone on to occupy, with honour, almost every senior office of state at the university. As an admiring colleague puts it, his commitment to Buckingham over the years has been unwavering, though I'm afraid it would be difficult to recite all the various responsibilities he has shouldered. Indeed, it would probably be easier to sum up the multifariousness of his contributions by ruling out the posts he has not held. John C. Clarke was never university librarian. One duty which should not be omitted here is Professor Clarke's role over the decades as our university orator, presenting dozens of brief but searching lives of many great contributors to knowledge and to public life. He now is the subject of the praise he has so often bestowed on others, and I hope it feels good. It, of course, also prompts the query, quis custodiet ipsus custodes, etc., who will orate for the orator himself? Well, all I can say is that is a properly rhetorical question. Chancellor, although he has stated that he didn't see himself as a Whitehall Mandarin, Professor John Clarke has been a superb Buckingham Mandarin, an indispensable power behind the throne. Indeed, a previous Vice-Chancellor recalls him as being utterly brilliant as an analyst of complex situations, able to sift through a mass of complex local detail and politics to distill the fundamental questions of university strategy. Wise, learned, knowledgeable. At the same time, he's also been a mentor and an inspiration to generations of Buckingham students, always willing to support and advise. A former PhD student affirms how, after a setback, Professor Clarke kept him going, phoning him regularly, fighting his corner, undertaking significant additional research himself in order to guide him and other research students, both in the UK and abroad, to doctorates of their own. Chancellor, such are the unnumbered and unquantifiable acts of human and intellectual generosity on which academic life is built. In conclusion, and in presenting to you John Charles Clarke for the award of Doctor of the University Honoris Causa, we may return to the words of Edward Gibbon in the preface to the final volume of his magnum opus, in which he stated that his satisfaction will be pure and perfect if the public favour should be extended to the conclusion of my work. Chancellor, we extend more than our favour to John Clarke. We extend great gratitude and huge affection, and apply Gibbon's parting wish to his latter-day descendant that, under a mild government, amidst a beauteous landscape, in a life of leisure and independence, he may long enjoy the varied pleasures of retirement and society.
Professor Clarke, by the authority of the university, it gives me enormous pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of the University Honoris Causa.
Professor Clark will now reply to convocation.
Chancellor, first of all, I want to congratulate our graduands. Graduation marks an important milestone in our lives and provides an opportunity to think about how we can build upon what we have learned as students. I actually attended the opening of the then University College at Buckingham on the 6th of February 1976. Much has happened since, but what was said then is still highly relevant to you in 2021. Two of the speeches made a particularly powerful impression upon me. One was by Sir Edgar Williams, Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Oxford. Sir Edgar hoped that those who pass happily through this place will emerge proudly and leave Buckingham with at least two attributes: an understanding of the rules of evidence and an unwillingness to persecute, with sharper minds, but not sharper tongues and not sharper elbows. The other speech came from Margaret Thatcher, later Chancellor of this university, and perhaps our most famous supporter. Thatcher declared, "Freedom requires vigour and imagination in using the opportunities available. Unless we are worthy and able to take advantage of the freedom not yet extinguished in our land, we shall become pale shadows. May I wish your students success and hope that their studies will enrich their minds and their lives and the contribution they can make to mankind." Chancellor, I could not put it better myself. But to these wise words, I would add two further pieces of advice. Stay in touch with the friends you have made at Buckingham, many of whom should be your friends for life. This is a good thing in itself, but always remember too that one of Buckingham's greatest advantages is the opportunities it provides for networking throughout the world. Stay in touch with the university and with your old teachers. Never for a moment think that Buckingham loses interest in you when you graduate. You remain part of the Buckingham family. By maintaining links, we can help you and you can help the university. As graduates of Buckingham, it is very much in your interest that your university should flourish in future years. I'm told I must be brief, but I cannot conclude without thanking the university for the great honour it is conferring upon me today. It is now almost exactly 47 years since Max Beloff invited me to become part of the Buckingham Project. It would be no exaggeration to say that apart from my wife Celia, Buckingham has been the centre of my life for all that time. As university orator, I presented many distinguished people for honorary degrees. It never occurred to me that one day I should be an honorand myself. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Buckingham, from the bottom of my heart.
Chancellor, I call upon Mr. Graham Jones, Senior Lecturer in Business Management and Enterprise, to present candidates for degrees of the University of Buckingham in Business.
Chancellor, I present to you the graduands in Accounting and Finance. For the degree of Master of Science in Finance and Investment, Charles Francois Quillot. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Accounting and Finance, Ojenerunu Ukiri. Chancellor, I present to you the graduands in Management. For the degree of Master of Business Administration, Kushnur Kaur. For the degree of Master of Science in Management in a Digital Service Economy, Abraham Great. Chancellor, I present to you the graduands in Enterprise. For the degree of Master of Science in Lean Enterprise with distinction, Paul White. Chancellor, that concludes this presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Julian Richards, Associate Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences, to present candidates for degrees of the University of Buckingham in Humanities and Social Sciences.
Chancellor, I present to you the graduands in English. For the degree of Master of Arts in Dickens Studies by Research, Joanna Marshall Collins. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English Literature with First Class Honours, Megan Brady. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Journalism with English Literature, Jenna Uthwet. Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands in History and History of Art. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy Biography, Christina Dykes. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History with Politics, Joel Woods. Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands in Economics and International Studies. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Security and Intelligence Studies, Awal Isa. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Philosophy, Jonathan Asher and Sebastian Morello. For the degree of Master of Arts in Security, Intelligence and Diplomacy, Oreoluwa Adekanbi. For the award of Postgraduate Certificate in Transnational Organised Crime, Emma Jones. Alice Massimiani. And Jennifer Yates. For the degree of Bachelor of Science, Economics in Economics, with first-class honours, Anuo Luwapo Adenuga. With first-class honours, Owen Green. Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands of the Humanities Research Institute, London. For the degree of Master of Arts in Military History by Research, Kevin McMahon. For the degree of Master of Arts in Modern War Studies by Research, with distinction, Jan Rassets. Pascal Zemmering. And for the degree of Master of Arts in Tudor and Stuart History by Research, Despoina Kastanaki. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Haran Salahewa, Dean of the Faculty of Computing, Law and Psychology, to present candidates for degrees of the University of Buckingham in Computing.
Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands in Computing. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computing, Tahsin Al-Baidani. David Dauda Traore. For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Computing, Muhammad Haris Bey. With distinction, Divya Kotha Kamalraj. With distinction, Tilangamani Senthil Ramesh. For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Data Science, degree apprenticeship, with distinction, Giorgio Anastasi. With distinction, Saveswaran Arul Selvam. With distinction, Dominic Baila. With distinction, Filippo Boneta. With distinction, Andrew Brown. With distinction, Muhammad Dalo. With distinction, Anthony Hall. With distinction, Nathan Hill. With distinction, Tracy Hooper. With distinction, Khurram Hussain. With distinction, Nirujan Nedunchalian. With distinction, Oliver Platt. With distinction, Victoria Pooley. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computing, Natasha Ellis. Khayyam Salim. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Adolfo Paolini, Associate Dean of Law, to present candidates for degrees of the University of Buckingham in Law.
Chancellor, I present to you the graduates in law. For the degree of Master of Laws in International and Commercial Law, Raisa Miram. For the degree of Bachelor of Laws, Agatha Baiketsi. With first-class honors, Luela Figueira. With first-class honors, Kirill Kasim. Alexander Mitchley. Naemeka Edwin Nadi. With first-class honors, Queen Wanjiwaku Wosu. Danielle Price Bradley. Mohaimin Reza. Jade Satney. Cliche Sons. Jade Shelley. With first-class honors, Haralek Singh. Tiara Guada. With first-class honors, Macy Watts. And for the degree of Bachelor of Laws part-time, with first-class honors, Charlotte Barber. With first-class honors, Maria Faisal. Prem Kumar. Yasha Energy Maratza. Atiba Millington. Deidre Plowman. Aisha Rana. With first class honors, Deborah Seagrave. With first class honors, Katie Watkins. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Dr. Alan Martin, Associate Dean of Psychology, to present candidates for degrees of the University of Buckingham in Psychology.
Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands in Psychology. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Christopher Brockbeck. Yui Hang Nora Ho. Laurie Parker. With first class honours, Megan Taylor. Samantha Williams. And for the degree of Bachelor in Science in Psychology with English Literature, Rama Maingot. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Douglas McQuinney, Head of the School of Postgraduate Medicine, to present candidates for degrees of the University of Buckingham in Postgraduate Medicine and Biomedical Science.
Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands in Postgraduate Medicine. For the degree of Professional Doctors in Radiology, Ahmed Al-Twil. For the award of Postgraduate Certificate in Medical Education, Daniel Alderson. Maria Amalalik Yagam. With distinction, Aaron Harris. Bianca Liu. Craig Mounsey. With distinction, Kate Robinson. With distinction, Louise Rogers. Leila Said. With distinction, Yi Yu. Chancellor, I present to you the Graduands in Health Sciences for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Sciences with first-class honours, Maria Gonzalez-Martin. With first-class honours, Matthew Nadim. Zainab Ziarat. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I now call upon you to confer degrees upon candidates whose names have been published in the programme but who are unable to be present here today.
By the authority of the University, I admit candidates in absentia to the degrees and diplomas for which they have qualified.
Thank you, Chancellor. So just to return to the first now graduate for today's proceeding, whose photograph was unfortunately not taken in the correct position. If that graduate could be directed by one of the marshals to stage, we will retake the photograph. It's the first graduate in business.
The very first graduate in business? Is your photograph again?
Charles Keogh. Is Charles still with us? Come forward, Charles. Thank you, Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor and Charles. The Vice-Chancellor will now give his closing address.
Chancellor, honorary graduate of this university, Chair of Council, all protocols observed. This has been a wonderful occasion for me. As you probably could tell at the beginning, we were a little nervous how this occasion would develop, having not done this for 2.5 years. And it has exceeded all expectations. It's been so wonderful to meet with all of the graduates now, and I'm thrilled that you can now go out into the world, and I hope wearing the badge of a graduate of the University of Buckingham with pride and honour as you embark on the next stages of your life. Someone once said there are 2 lasting bequests we can give our children and our students. One is roots, the other is wings. And of course that reminds us of the University of Buckingham's motto, Alice volans proprius, translated, flying on our own wings. I'd like to think that we have helped give you wings, your degrees, your life experiences, your friends. All of these will help you fly now as you go out into the world. But also, we do want to be a strong part of your roots too. Do see yourselves as part of the Buckingham family, this growing international family of alumni from 80, 100 countries, all united by the experience of being here. I wish you well for the next stages of your lives. Lives will be full of ups and downs. Not necessarily everything will go the way you want it immediately, but you will persevere. You've learnt so much from Buckingham, but you have learnt the ability and willingness to persevere and to complete what you started. I know you are going to do wonderfully. I know you'll get through everything. Keep in touch, won't you? Please keep in touch. Thank you very much, the graduates of the University of Buckingham. Well done.
The Chancellor will now close this ceremony for the conferment of degrees.
As the Registrar has just said, this ceremony is now drawing towards its close. May I again congratulate all our new graduates and wish you good luck in the next stage of your careers, flying on your own wings, as the Vice-Chancellor put it. May I also say what a pleasure it was for me to confer an honorary doctorate of the university upon Professor John Clark, in rightful recognition of his long association with the university and its predecessor, the University College at Buckingham, and for the long distinction of his teaching for this university. As I said at the outset, the past 18 months have not been easy, but the university and you are emerging from this time of national trial, stronger than ever. The university, in its resolve to maintain its well-deserved reputation for excellent teaching and the ethos of independence and entrepreneurship that permeates its very fabric. This ceremony is now concluded.
Please be upstanding.